The walls of the Quartermaine mansion have witnessed countless dramatic moments throughout the years, but none as devastating as the discovery Jason Morgan would make on this particular morning. After returning from his harrowing mission in Croatia, Jason had planned to check in on Monica. Knowing she hadn't been feeling well lately, the house felt unusually quiet as he made his way up the familiar staircase, his footsteps echoing through the grand hallway. When Jason gently pushed open Monica's bedroom door, expecting to find her peacefully sleeping, his world came crashing down. There, lying motionless beneath her silk bedsheets, was the woman who had been more of a mother to him than he had ever allowed himself to acknowledge. Monica Quartermaine had passed away quietly in her sleep, her face serene and peaceful, as if she had simply decided it was time to let go. The devastating news spread through Port Charles like wildfire. Jason's trembling voice as he called Tracy with the heartbreaking update would be remembered by everyone who heard it. Tracy, despite all her past conflicts with Monica, was completely shattered by the loss. The two women had developed a deep respect and affection for each other in their later years, making Monica's passing feel like losing a true sister. The gathering storm of grief. Within hours, the Quartermaine mansion filled with family members, friends, and colleagues who had come to pay their respects to the beloved matriarch. Drew Cain, despite his recent estrangement from the family due to his increasingly villainous behavior, was notified of Monica's death by Elizabeth Baldwin. The news hit him harder than anyone expected, bringing forth emotions he had buried deep within himself for months. As Drew arrived at the mansion, his usual confident demeanor was nowhere to be found. The man who had recently shown such callousness toward his own family members now stood before Monica's room with tears streaming down his face. The weight of his recent actions, the affairs, the blackmail, the political manipulations that had turned him into Port Charles' most despised resident, suddenly felt crushing in the face of such profound loss. The gathering of mourners was a testament to Monica's impact on the community. Dr. Britt Westburn, Dr. Portia Robinson, and Dr. Terry Randolph represented General Hospital, where Monica had dedicated so much of her life to saving others. The sight of these medical professionals paying their respects underscored just how much Monica meant to the medical community she had served for decades. The reading of the will. 3 days after Monica's peaceful passing, the family gathered in the mansion's living room for the reading of her will. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation and grief as the family lawyer prepared to unveil Monica's final wishes. Everyone assumed they knew what would happen. Surely Tracy, as Monica's sister-in-law and closest female relative, would inherit the mansion, or perhaps Jason, as her adoptive son who had finally found his way back to the family. The lawyer's voice was steady as he began reading the legal document that would determine the fate of the Quartermaine legacy. Various smaller bequests were distributed to staff members, charities, and distant relatives. But when he reached the section regarding the mansion, the crown jewel of the Quartermaine estate, a collective gasp filled the room. To Andrew Cain, whom I have watched struggle to find his place in this family and in this world, the lawyer read, his voice carrying Monica's words from beyond the grave. I leave the Quartermaine mansion and all its contents. It is my hope that this responsibility will help him remember who he truly is beneath all the anger and pain. I believe that given the chance to be the guardian of our family's legacy, Drew will find his way back to the man I once knew, the man who deserves a second chance at becoming the honorable person I know he can be. Drew's overwhelming reaction. The silence that followed was deafening. Drew's face went white as the words sank in. Of all the people in that room, Jason, Tracy, Brooke Lynn, Ned, Monica had chosen him. The black sheep who had betrayed the family's trust repeatedly over the past months. The man who had used his political position to try to destroy the family crypt. Who had blackmailed innocent people. Who had been shot by an unknown assailant just weeks earlier because of his despicable actions. Tears began flowing freely down Drew's face as the full weight of Monica's faith in him became clear. While everyone else had written him off, while the entire town of Port Charles wanted him gone, Monica had seen something redeemable in him. She had looked past his recent villainous behavior and remembered the man who had once been worthy of her love and trust. She still believed in me, Drew whispered, his voice breaking with emotion. Even after everything I've done, she still believed I could change. The family members exchanged glances, some confused, others moved by the raw vulnerability they were seeing from Drew. Tracy, despite her shock at not inheriting the mansion herself, found herself oddly touched by Monica's final act of faith. Jason, though surprised by the decision, recognized something familiar in Monica's gesture, the same unconditional love she had shown him. during his darkest periods. The physical and emotional toll. As the reality of Monica's gift settled in, Drew's emotions overwhelmed his already weakened physical state. The gunshot wounds he had sustained during the recent attempt on his life hadn't fully healed, and the combination of intense grief, shock, and the weight of Monica's expectations proved too much for his system to handle. The room began spinning as Drew struggled to remain upright, his breathing becoming shallow and labored. I can't, Drew gasped, clutching his chest as the pain from his healing wounds intensified. The stress of the moment was causing his blood pressure to spike dangerously, and before anyone could react, Drew collapsed to the floor in a dead faint. Jason was the first to reach him, quickly checking his pulse while calling for an ambulance. The irony wasn't lost on anyone present. The two brothers who had been at odds for so long were now united in this moment of crisis, with Jason desperately trying to save the man Monica had entrusted with their family's future. Awakening to a new reality. Hours later, Drew opened his eyes in a sterile hospital room, the beeping of machines providing a rhythmic backdrop to his confused thoughts. As consciousness slowly returned, so did the memory of what had transpired at the mansion. The will reading, Monica's incredible bequest, his emotional breakdown, it all came flooding back with startling clarity. Elizabeth appeared at his bedside, her medical training evident as she checked his vital signs and assessed his condition. "You're going to be fine," she assured him gently. "Your body just couldn't handle the emotional stress on top of your physical recovery. But Drew, you need to understand what just happened. You're now the owner of the Quartermaine Mansion." The words hit Drew like a physical blow. It wasn't a dream or a hallucination brought on by medication. Monica had truly left him, the family's most treasured possession. As he lay there in the hospital bed, staring up at the ceiling, Drew realized that his entire life had just changed course. He was no longer just Drew Kane, the disgraced congressman who had burned every bridge in Port Charles. He was now the guardian of the Quartermaine legacy, entrusted with a responsibility that went far beyond mere property ownership. The weight of responsibility. As Drew's strength slowly returned over the following days, he found himself contemplating the enormity of Monica's final gift. The mansion wasn't just a house, it was a symbol of everything the Quartermaine family represented. Generations of memories lived within those walls, from Edward and Lilla's legendary love story to the countless family gatherings that had shaped the lives of everyone who called it home. The responsibility felt overwhelming, but also oddly comforting. For months, Drew had felt disconnected from everything and everyone, his political ambitions and personal vendettas consuming him until he barely recognized himself. Now, faced with Monica's unwavering faith in his capacity for redemption, he began to see a path forward that didn't involve manipulation, blackmail, or revenge. Lying in that hospital bed, Drew made a silent promise to Monica's memory. He would prove worthy of her trust. He would find a way to honor the Quartermaine legacy while rebuilding the relationships he had so carelessly destroyed. The mansion would become not just his home, but his chance at redemption, a place where he could remember who he truly was beneath all the anger and pain that had driven him to such dark places. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be family members to face, enemies to confront, and his own demons to overcome. But Monica's final act of faith had given him something he hadn't possessed in months: hope. Hope that change was possible, that redemption was within reach, and that even someone who had fallen as far as he had could find their way back to the light. As Drew closed his eyes and tried to rest, he could almost hear Monica's voice whispering the words that would guide him forward. "This is your chance, Drew. Don't waste it." Next, we will learn about the intense family feuds, heartbreaking somber news, and heroic rescues unfolding in Port Charles this week. As the autumn leaves begin to turn in the bustling town of Port Charles, the drama on General Hospital escalates to new heights, blending deep-seated family conflicts with moments of profound sorrow and unexpected acts of bravery. This week, starting from September 15th, viewers are in for a roller coaster of emotions as long-standing rivalries flare up. Devastating revelations shake the foundations of beloved characters, and quick-thinking heroes step in to save the day. At the heart of the turmoil are figures like Liesl Obrecht and her daughter Britt Westburn, whose explosive feud threatens to tear apart their fragile family bonds. Meanwhile, Jason Morgan finds himself bearing the weight of delivering truly somber news that could alter the Quartermaine legacy forever. And in a twist of fate, Lulu Spencer emerges as an unlikely rescuer, pulling an accident victim from the brink of disaster. These storylines weave together a tapestry of intrigue, heartache, and redemption, reminding us why General Hospital remains a staple of daytime television, with its rich character developments and unpredictable plots. Diving deeper into the family feuds, Liesl Obrecht and Britt Westburn continue their heated clashes, their arguments echoing through the halls of General Hospital like thunderclaps on a stormy night. Britt, having miraculously returned from what everyone believed was her untimely demise, struggles to reconcile with her overbearing mother, whose manipulative tendencies have long been a source of tension. Liesl's sharp tone and unyielding pride clash against Britt's desire for independence, creating scenes filled with biting dialogue and unresolved grudges. Enter Nina Reeves, the ever-diplomatic cousin who steps in as a peacemaker, drawing on her own experiences of loss and resurrection to bridge the gap between her back from the dead relative and her formidable aunt. Nina's efforts add layers of complexity as she navigates her own emotional baggage while trying to foster harmony in this dysfunctional trio. This subplot explores themes of forgiveness and familial loyalty, with invented elements like a hidden family heirloom from their German heritage that Liesl uses as leverage, symbolizing the old world traditions clashing with modern sensibilities. As Nina mediates, we see flashes of vulnerability in both women, hinting at potential breakthroughs that could heal old wounds or ignite even fiercer battles. Shifting to the hospital drama, Drew Kane lies in his room at General Hospital, his mind sharp despite his physical constraints, as he masterfully manipulates attorney Martin Gray into advancing his secretive agenda. Drew's cunning tactics, born from years of survival instincts honed during his time away, involve subtle psychological ploys that leave Martin questioning his own alliances. This interaction builds suspense, with new details emerging about Drew's hidden motives, perhaps tied to a long-forgotten business deal that could upend the Corinthos empire. Simultaneously, Anna Devane uncovers fresh evidence related to Drew's mysterious past, her investigative prowess leading her down a rabbit hole of clues that include cryptic messages and overlooked surveillance footage. Anna's determination adds a thriller element, as she pieces together a puzzle that might expose betrayals reaching back decades. On another front, Carly Spencer pours out her deep-seated hurt, her raw emotions spilling over in a confrontation that reveals cracks in her usually unbreakable facade. Carly's pain stems from recent betrayals, amplified by invented flashbacks to her turbulent history with Jason and Sonny, making her vulnerability a poignant highlight. Rounding out this segment, young Marco Rios boldly confronts his father, the enigmatic Jan Sidwell, in a scene charged with generational conflict, where Marco demands answers about family secrets that have haunted him, potentially involving underground dealings that tie into Port Charles' criminal underbelly. Moving into the encouraging friendships and distressing news on Tuesday, September 16th, Christina Corinthos Davis steps up as a pillar of support for Cody Bell, offering words of wisdom that help him navigate his personal crossroads. Christina's empathy, drawn from her own brushes with tragedy, infuses the moment with genuine warmth, perhaps including a new element where she shares a cherished memento from her late sister, to inspire Cody's resilience. Elsewhere, Joe Palmieri and Emma Scorpio Drake receive distressing news that rocks their young worlds, possibly related to a family member's health scare or a shocking revelation about their lineage, adding youthful angst to the mix. In a burst of frustration, Nina snaps under the pressure, her patience wearing thin as she mediates between the two stubborn German women in her life. Liesl and Britwo's unyielding attitudes mirror the rigid beauty of the Black Forest from their ancestral homeland. This snap could lead to an inventive outburst where Nina reveals a personal secret, escalating the drama. Meanwhile, Molly Lansing Davis finds a confidant in Elizabeth Weber, sharing burdens that weigh heavily on her heart, such as lingering grief or professional dilemmas, with Elizabeth's nursing wisdom providing solace. Adding to the emotional depth, Lucas Jones opens up to his birth aunt, Ava Jerome, in a heartfelt exchange that peels back layers of his identity struggles, perhaps incorporating new details about his medical career ambitions, and how Ava's art world connections inspire him. Wednesday, September 17th, brings somber news and scratchy encounters that promise to tug at heartstrings. Jason Morgan, the stoic enforcer with a heart of gold, delivers devastating somber news, which appears to involve the passing of the matriarch Monica Quartermain, a pillar of the community whose loss sends ripples through Port Charles. Jason might be the one to discover her, adding a layer of personal grief to his already burdened soul, with invented memories of Monica's guidance during his turbulent youth enhancing the tragedy. Elsewhere, Britt Westburn faces a scratchy encounter that tests her limits, hopefully not involving something as literal as poison ivy while attempting to confine her mother in a remote cabin reminiscent of the one where she once trapped the villainous Peter August, a nod to her resourceful yet risky past. Returning to the Drew Kane investigation, detectives Harrison Chase and Dante Falconeri huddled to compare notes, their partnership highlighting the procedural side of Port Charles law enforcement. As they uncover discrepancies that point to foul play, Cody Bell is taken aback by an unexpected twist, his reaction amplified by new elements like a forgotten connection to the case that personalizes his shock. Kai Taylor experiences an alarming realization, potentially recalling a critical oversight such as leaving fingerprints on a baseball bat at Drew's house, injecting suspense with forensic drama that could lead to his downfall. On Thursday, September 18th, favors and secrets dominate the narrative. Joe Palmieri approaches the powerful Sonny Corinthos with a humble favor, perhaps requesting assistance in acquiring a new violin to perform a touching tribute at Monica's funeral, blending Gio's musical talents with the Corinthos family's influence. In a moment of cross-generational support, elsewhere, Molly Lansing Davis harbors a secret that eats away at her, possibly involving a hidden alliance or personal dilemma that tests her moral compass, with added details about her internal conflict heightening the intrigue. In a display of growth, Britt swallows her pride, which might involve reaching out to Jason during his time of grief, offering comfort that rekindles old flames and explores themes of redemption. Tracy Quartermaine and Jason share a tender moment of connection, their shared history as Quartermaines providing a rare glimpse into Tracy's softer side, perhaps through invented anecdotes of family holidays past. Finally, Charlotte Casadini confides in her mother, Lulu Spencer, strengthening their bond amid Charlotte's teenage turmoil, with new elements like a school-related secret adding relatability. Capping off the week on Friday, September 19th, Lulu Spencer springs into action, coming to the rescue of an accident victim in a high-stakes scene that showcases her bravery and quick thinking, perhaps involving a dramatic car crash on the outskirts of town, where Lulu uses her journalistic instincts to administer first aid. Elsewhere, likely within the sterile walls of the hospital, Elizabeth Weber delivers bad news to Drew Kane, her compassionate delivery softening the blow of what could be a life-altering diagnosis or legal setback. Jason voices his regrets, reflecting on paths not taken in a vulnerable monologue that humanizes the tough guy. Joe Palmieri comes through for Emma Scorpio Drake, likely aiding her in a situation tied to the enigmatic Professor Henry Dalton, with inventive plot points like uncovering a hidden artifact that resolves their distress. And young Danny Morgan makes an earnest plea, perhaps advocating for his sibling Scout Kane to attend Monica's funeral, emphasizing the innocence of children amid adult sorrows. This week's episodes of General Hospital promise to deliver the perfect mix of tension, tears, and triumphs, keeping fans on the edge of their seats. Stay tuned for more updates, and remember to like, share, and subscribe for all the latest spoilers.